Hey, I'm Dr. Nate Bosch with the Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams. Let's talk about clean water versus clear water. Are they the same? Are they different? How do they compare to each other? First off, clean doesn't necessarily mean clear, and clear doesn't necessarily mean clean. We can have water that's very clear in color. We look at this water right here. In fact, right now, it's really clear in color, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's clean. There could be pesticides that have run off from people's yards or golf courses or agricultural areas. It could also be toxins from algae, like we study here at the Lilly Center, which could be harmful to people or their pets. There could be E. coli bacteria, which could also be harmful to people if they get in the water and ingest some of the water with higher E. coli levels. So just because it's clear doesn't necessarily mean it's clean. Now let's look at the reverse. If it's clean, does it have to necessarily be clear? Could we still have safe water even though it's not clear? That can be true as well. I think of tannins that come in the water. We're right now here in northern Indiana in the fall time, and so you can see some of the leaves maybe even floating around here in the water, on the water, along the banks of the water. As those leaves decompose, they give off tannins. Tannins are the chemicals that plants have in them to try to avoid herbivores from eating those plants, right? Rabbits and deer and those sort of things. And those leaves, as they decompose, they naturally give off tannins. Tannins is a type of dissolved organic carbon that makes the water look a little bit more brown in color, a little bit stained. Some of you might have even drank dissolved organic carbon this morning. If you're a tea drinker or a coffee drinker, that's dissolved organic carbon that's leaching out of that plant material in the tea or in the coffee and coming into that water and then staining the water a darker color. So just because we have that coloration doesn't mean that that water is unsafe. Definitely it's not clear, but it could still be considered clean. Now, let's think about how streams might change throughout the year as well. We're standing in a lake here, but we have streams that flow into our lakes, and those streams can change color, and they can be clear or clean at different times as well. I think of a big snowmelt event where lots of water is running across the landscape and washing into a stream, or maybe after a big thunderstorm in the summertime, washing a lot of sediments along with the water into that stream. The water can look sort of a murky brown, almost like chocolate milk. That would be an example of water that's not clean and not clear. So you can see there's all different combinations of clean versus clear, or just one or the other. All right, let's talk about how we measure lake water that's clean or clear. Clear is probably the easiest thing to measure. We have a white and black Secchi disc, which we lower in the water, and depending on how far down you can determine the white from the black on that disc, that gives you a relative sense of how transparent or clear the water is. Pretty easy. To look at how clean the water is, that's a little bit more complicated. We do sampling for E. coli and algae toxins and nutrients, and we look at lots of different aspects of those things at different times of the year and in different water bodies. But the goal is for clean and clear for our local lakes and streams. So how can we get to clean and clear water bodies here in Indiana and throughout the Midwestern United States? Well, one thing is where we're standing right now. There's a great example. Having native plants along our shorelines, both on streams as well as on lakes, are going to help those water bodies be clean and clear. The native plants are going to help filter water as it comes through those native plants. Water is always running downhill, and so it's usually going towards a water body. And so those plants have roots that are going deep and helping pull nutrients out and pulling water in, and it's slowing down the water as it's headed towards that water body. And so these plants are helping this lake be more clean and more clear. We can also keep yard waste from getting into the lake. This time of year, there's lots of natural leaves blowing in, but we don't want to unnaturally put leaves into the lake on purpose, because those are just going to cause more decomposition, which brings to more nutrients, which leads to more weeds and algae growing in our lakes. We also want to be mindful of the type of fertilizer that we use on yards throughout the watersheds around our lakes and streams, and not have phosphorus in those fertilizer chemistries. So I hope that helps clear up for you the difference between clean and clear water in our local lakes and streams.